Hey, what's up everybody? Dustin here with Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Today, I'll be showing you how to replace the brake pads on a 2016 Polaris XP4 1000. Brakes, one of the most important serviceable wear items on your UTV that are all too often overlooked until you either hear them screeching or grinding. Now, it's really fun to go fast, but it's not that much fun if you can't bring your vehicle to a stop. Now, knowing how to change out the brake pads is definitely something worthwhile to do, and it's relatively easy, and it's something that you can get done in a reasonable amount of time. Now, today we're going to show you how to change out the brake pads on a Polaris RZR XP4 1000, but the process that we're going to show you here today is pretty universal and can be applied to most all of the UTVs that are out there. Now, when it comes to you and your UTV, make sure to reference your service manual for your machine's specific information. Alright, so to change out the brake pads, we're just going to need a few basic tools. Now, for specialty tools, we'll be using a C-clamp and a torque wrench. Now, you will want to have some rubber gloves, some safety glasses, some brake parts cleaner and some contact cleaner, as well as a drain pan and some rags. Now, as for brake pads, we offer a wide variety, everything from OEM to aftermarket brands like Tusk, Neutron, and many others that can be found on our website. Now, for today, we'll be installing the Neutron sintered metal pads, so let's show you how to get them installed. To begin, start by elevating the machine. Then we can remove the tires. Next, we can begin to remove the brake caliper, and in order to do so, we need to remove the lower radius rod. For this, I'll be using a 15mm socket and 15mm box open-ended wrench. All right, now once you pull the bolt out and you let the lower radius arm down, you'll want to take and place a jack stand underneath the trailing arm to support it while we work on it. Next, we need to loosen the pad adjuster screw 2 to 3 turns. Then we can remove the 2 bolts that secure the caliper to the hub. With the 2 bolts removed, we can now work the caliper off of the rotor. All right, so now that we've got our caliper removed, we need to compress the piston cups so that we can make room for the new pads. Now, when we do this, we're going to use a C-clamp and keep the pads still installed so that we can press against the piston cups evenly. So you'll compress this again to make room for the new pads. Now, when you do this, you're going to be forcing the brake fluid that's inside of here back up to the brake reservoir. Now, if your brake reservoir is currently full and we go shove a bunch of fluid back up into it, it's going to overfill. So you may want to have someone up there keeping an eye on it, and if necessary, remove the excess brake fluid. All right, so now that we've got our piston cups compressed back into the caliper body, we need to take the caliper's bracket that it mounts to, and we're going to push this in towards the body. Now, in doing so, it's going to give us enough room so that we can remove our brake pads. So we'll just simply slide the pad towards the outside of the caliper body, and then we can remove them. Now we're ready for new pads. All right, so now that we've got our pads removed, right now it'd be a good idea to go ahead and take some brake cleaner, clean off the caliper, remove any of that old brake dust, as well as clean your rotor off as well. All right, so now that we've got our caliper sprayed down and cleaned off, we need to service the pins that allow for our caliper to move on the brake stay. This is what's going to be making those small adjustments as our brake pad wears so we get really good contact. Now, you want to make sure that this will slide back and forth real smoothly. As you can see, ours doesn't slide very smooth. So we'll pull this off just like so, and then we'll take some grease and we'll coat the pins right here, and then we can reinstall them. And when you do so, make sure to secure the rubber boot around the little collar that sits here on the brake stay pin. All right, so now that we've got our caliper serviced, now we can install our new brake pads. So we'll start with the first one. Make sure that the brake pad itself is facing towards the outside. We'll take the next pad, we'll place it on there with the brake pad material facing towards the inside. With new pads installed, we can now fit it to the rotor and the hub. Next, we can insert the caliper bolts, and then we'll torque them to 40 foot-pounds. All right, so now that we've got our caliper mounted up, next we can reinstall the lower radius rod. Now, Polaris recommends that we replace the nut anytime that this bolt is removed. Now, once the bolt has been installed, you'll want to torque it to 100 foot-pounds. All right, so next you're going to want to pump the brakes until you get some substantial pressure. Once you've done that, you're going to take your 5mm Allen wrench and you're going to turn the brake pad adjuster screw all the way clockwise. You're going to fully seat it. Once it's seated, you'll back it off half a turn. All right, so now that we're done with this side, the driver's side, we can now move over to the passenger rear, get that side done. We'll do the same process, and then we'll move up to the front. All right, now servicing the brake pads on the front caliper is pretty much going to be the same process as on the rear. Now to begin, we're going to start by loosening the screw adjuster nut here. We're going to back it out 2 to 3 turns. Next, we need to remove the 2 bolts. For this, we'll be using a 15mm socket. All right, so once we've got our caliper removed, then we can take our C-clamp and compress the pistons into the caliper housing. All right, so now we can take the caliper brake stay and we're going to push it in towards the caliper body. Once we've pushed it in as far as it can go, then we can take and remove our brake pads. All right, so now that we've got our pads removed, we can spray this down with some brake cleaner, remove all that old brake dust, as well as clean our rotors with the brake cleaner as well. Now, when you're cleaning your rotor, it's not a bad idea to give it a good inspection, check for any deep grooves, anything like that. If it's got some excessive grooves, excessive wear, you'll want to replace your rotor as well. All right, so now that we've got our caliper and rotor cleaned, we need to pull off the brake stay that has our pins in it, the brake pins. We need to service these with a little bit of grease. Once we've got them greased, we can install them back onto the caliper. And then we need to set the boot, the rubber boot here, so that it sits nicely in its groove so it covers and protects that pin. All right, so now that we've got our brake stay bracket pins lubricated, we can now install our new brake pads. All right, so now that we've got our new pads put on, we can now place it onto the rotor. Then we can install our caliper bolts, and then we'll torque them to 30 foot-pounds. All right, so next you're going to want to pump the brakes until you get some substantial pressure. Once you've done that, you're going to take your 5mm Allen wrench and you're going to turn the brake pad adjuster screw all the way clockwise. You're going to fully seat it. Once it's seated, you'll back it off half a turn. All right, so once you've finished up with this side, you can repeat the same process for the passenger front. And once you're finished, it's always good to check your brakes reservoir to make sure that it's topped off. Once you're all done with that, we can then reinstall the wheels and torque the lug nuts for this machine to 120 foot-pounds. Now, if you're working on a different UTV, make sure that you reference your service manual for its specific information. Now, if you jump online, check out our website at RockyMountainATVMC.com. You can find a wide variety of replacement brake pads and much, much more that will fit your machine. Now, if you have any questions or concerns as to what we've done here today, feel free to leave a comment below and we'll be sure to get an answer back to you. And while you're there on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more product spotlights, how-tos, and top 5s. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'm Dustin with Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Thanks for watching and keep the wrenches turning.